Actually, let me use because you just mentioned the United States being like fantastic for this sort of thing, and like in terms of like social mobility, right? And I'll use an example from Colombia. So, my girlfriend, I live there now, and the company is based there and everything. My girlfriend's Colombian. We've been together for 2 years, and I'm really good friends with her family. So her younger brother, very similar kind of person to me, so we get along very well. He he'll go basically he'll finish work and then he'll go home and then get like on like courses. He'll get like online courses for like Udemy, if you know.
Yeah.
So exactly. So like he'll get some courses on some coding courses, and he'll watch everything. He doesn't speak English. He just knows like a little bit of English, but like he'll watch everything in English, subtitled in Spanish, right? And then he'll try to take those over and then go to his like coding editor, like whether he's making a game or something. And coding is in English, right? Like Python, Java, like this is all English words. Like the computers don't understand, even basic like what is a loop? What is a for loop? What is a for is an English word, right? It doesn't make any sense in Spanish. So basically he will like copy them all over and then like painstakingly like make sure like translate everything like, oh, what does it mean? What is recursion? What is, like what is a loop? What is a map? Like all these like, coding has a lot of
if then statements, exactly, all types of stuff. Mm-hmm.
But like it'll just be, he's doing it in Spanish and he'll understand in Spanish, but the process by which he has to like go do that stuff, like go learn is much harder than someone here, right? Like doing the same thing. There's a lot of like extra steps. So I see him doing this all the time. He never complains about it. Just, that's what he does. But in Colombia, because they, my girlfriend's family, they're not they're like middle class, but they're not like, they don't have like a lot of money, right? So basically there isn't like a room for, it doesn't matter how really smart you are, right? The government is not going to like give you a scholarship to go to some college where, just you can study and do all this things. So like, it's hard for him to go, he's looking around trying to find like where he can get some, some sponsorship, where he can get some, some scholarship, something like that to go study this stuff. But it's hard, right? And now I'm imagining like this kid comes to the US where everything is like, you can go to college, and be a shitty like lacrosse player and get a full ride, right?
Yeah.
Like, and he's going to have no competition whatsoever. So that's once you see in other places, like how much like daily life is kind of a struggle, or like the things that you take an education for granted, right? Then you're like, oh shit, like I see why the US is, is the land of opportunity in a sense. You know what I mean?
No, that makes sense. That's what I've always said if you want to develop discipline, you do things that require discipline.
Yeah.
If you want to develop a work ethic, you have to do things that require work ethic.
Yep.
Sounds like that's exactly what that kid's doing. It's probably extremely tedious to have to translate everything into from Spanish, which you want to say, hey, I want to create an if-then statement with a loop at the end. Then you have to actually do it in English.
Yep.
But like you said, he's facilitating a skill set that we don't really need anymore.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, honestly, if you want to just skate by here in the States with mediocre work, you probably do it, dude.
Exactly.
You're never going to be affluent, but you might be all right. You know what I mean?
But
you skate through.
That's why it's attractive, right? Like people shouldn't have to work so hard to just get, to just live, right?
Yeah.
But he's, like you said, he's very disciplined, but it's almost as if the society has forced him to be disciplined, right? If you want out, you have to be that way. Otherwise, you're not getting out, right? So once people do leave, like you'll see what happens all the time. Like, an immigrant from India or from Latin America or wherever, like comes to the US, makes it really big, and then their kids are like, just not at the same level because they don't need to be anymore, right?
Right.
And they're like his grandkids are not even close to, and it's a normal thing.
And they're just like normal every other American.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that makes perfect sense. That's a guy that I follow. His name's Bedros Keuilian. He's from Eastern Europe somewhere.
Okay. Yeah.
He calls it the immigrant edge, and that's exactly what it is. It's the fact that like it is hard just to get by.
Yep.
In these former Soviet bloc countries, like it's hard just to have a heated house, have electric, clean water, and maybe, if you're lucky, a car.
Yeah.
Right? That's hard to do. Here, it's like you can get a job tomorrow like that, have a car and a place to rent with heat. And honestly, you probably don't even have to pay your rent. Being in rentals, I'm here to tell you.
No, like
you don't even have to pay your rent. Now it's hard for me to throw you out.
You could be working at McDonald's and everybody at McDonald's has a car. They go home in a car. They may not have like the iPhone 14, but they're gonna have the iPhone 10. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, they might have an Xbox in their house. Like, that's
what's wild, dude. I was down in Brazil. This was a couple years ago, but I remember this specifically. It was a great trip. I mean, Ipanema Beach. We stayed right on there. Beautiful, dude. It was awesome. I remember when
I think Ipanema in like Rio de Janeiro.
Rio de Janeiro,
gotcha.
yeah.
I was only in Sao Paulo in Brazil.
Okay. Hey, make the trip to Rio, man. It was awesome. But I remember we were driving back to the airport to drive home. And I look out of the window. We had a driver, which we could afford, mind you, which wasn't that expensive down there. But I remember looking out the right side of the window, and it was just a village of corrugated tin houses underneath a bridge. That's poverty. That's wild.
The favelas, the communes,
it's wild, dude. That's like here, you know, so and obviously I want everybody to be affluent and live a life of their dreams. Great. I mean, I get that. But here it's like you're poor, you got an iPhone 6 and color TV. There, it's like totally different. So if you manage to get out of that destitution, you are one hard son of a bitch. You have to be. You got skills, you have discipline, you're willing to work yourself to the bone. We don't need to do that here. And it reminds me of a quote: societies are born stoic, but die Epicurean.